gonna be right here. We can start. Everyone's ready for this. Welcome to the Tokyo Stationery Pen Addict Inklings Cafe Pencast. TTSPAICP, if it's harder to remember. It took me a week to remember. But yeah, we pulled this off last minute because originally it was just a CY, and I was like, hey, let's do an episode over at the pen show. And then we're like, oh, Brad's coming, let's reel him in. And oh, Drew's coming, let's get him in too. And Andy, I hope you're not here. I didn't realize the Raisable podcast is also So yeah, and we did not think through anything. I have several questions that I prepared for them, that hopefully they prepared for me. And we're going to go through my question kind of panel style, and maybe at the end, if we have time, we can also take Q&As. So how's that sound? So I guess first we should introduce ourselves. I just realized you guys have no idea who I am if you don't listen to the Stationery Cafe. My name is April, and I'm the co-host of the Stationery Cafe, and here's Kelly.
Hi, I'm Kelly from Kelly Love Letters on Instagram and, various stationery stores. Lurking around.
I'm Brad from the Pen Addict blog and podcast and Twitch, and Mike usually does all of this part, so
yeah, it's pretty hard to follow Bradley Dowdy. But I'm CY, Tokyo Station Pens on Instagram and TikTok. I have a website at tokyostationpens.com, and you can find me on Twitter at tokyostationmnh. I usually do this part, but I still suck at it. And we have a podcast called Tokyo Inklings. Please, if you don't know it, please check it out. We're still figuring out how to grow them follower or listener numbers, but yeah, it's been a while, right? And it's really not about the listener numbers. It's all about you guys here. Yeah! Coming out to see us live, and this long name which I made but I don't remember.
Yeah, you made that.
I think this is really special. It's never been done in the history of pen podcasting before. And with that, I'm going to pass it to Drew, because he's actually done some really long-winded one.
half of the long-winded one. If it was me, it would just be an hour. My name is Drew Brown. I work for the Goulet Pen Company, and I co-host our weekly Pencast, which is the most long-winded of all of these.
Yes, I'm so honored to be in the presence of these three podcasts because I feel like they work way harder than ours. We are actually on the break right now. We don't even have episodes out. I jokingly say they're like the Pen Podcast and we're the Spend Podcast. We're the de-stress, spend all your money podcast, basically. And to start, I feel like I want to give a little bit of my impression. I prepared this last night at 2 a.m., so have mercy on me. People joke that we're the dishwasher podcast. Like, people listen to the Stationery Cafe when they're doing chores, like laundry or dishwashing. And Brad's like probably the card podcast, right? Like, people.
Yeah, we're the I'm going to sleep with you in my head podcast. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with, but that's the one I
I was thinking when you first met Brad, like the part where you're like, you listen to it in the car. That's like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't remember what you said.
Not going to say embarrassing things about herself. And like, Tokyo Inklings is my dog walking podcast. I take Cookie, my dog, out to walk, and I will like chuckle like in the middle of the street, like that's his podcast to me. And Goulet Pencast, I'm a little embarrassed to say.
Walk
but
across the entire country.
yours is the visual one, right? Like we watch your pencast. So to the both of us, it was the sitting on the toilet. Like, Brian goes on.
You're welcome.
So with that good start. I just wanted to really slip that in. I think we should start with some questions about all of us, because like we are all stationery themed podcasts, and we don't want to start off with like, what's your favorite pen? You know, like I feel like you can listen to all of them. I kind of want to dive into like the behind the scenes of what it's like to run a stationery podcast, and maybe starting over right at Drew, like. Who started it? Like, was it Brian or was it you? It was like, this is gonna make us money, let's do this. What's the origin story there?
There were different versions of a show. Brian did like 250 weekly Q&As for like a bazillion years, and then we spent another 2 years while he was doing that, doing a twice a week Right Now video thing, and then COVID happened and we did nothing. And then when he came back, we were like, oh, we should probably start doing videos again. But why don't we just kind of smoosh everything together? And then the Pencast happened after about a week of preparation. And we're like, maybe we should just record something and just see if it's okay. And yeah, it was a year in April since we've been doing that, and it's been just fine, so we'll probably keep it up.
10K viewers, no big deal.
Is that why it's so long?
It got longer. Some of us don't edit.
Yeah, Brad, how about you?
Right.
Yeah, the date, exact date when Pen Addict was.
Oh my gosh. It was February 2012. I don't have the exact date, but around, we celebrated 10 years of.
Graduated college in 2012.
Yeah, 10 years of podcasting about pens is like a super weird thing to say out loud. But we couldn't do it without all of y'all, and all of y'all up here. Like, it's just like, this is like family to us, and like it's just really cool.
Stationery Daddy.
All right, I'm gonna see stickers and hashtags.
Yes! Alright, we gotta tell Mike about that one.
Yeah, Mike will not let me live that down. So, first one that gets to him, I'll be asking for your name.
Yeah, obviously, right down the Pen Addict. Listening to Pen Addict for a while, and I think a lot of information about Japan in general is locked in Japan, and it's locked in Japanese. There used to be a few great blogs. Ross Stubler, fantastic blog he had, but he's been inactive for 18 years. He's still alive. He texted me. He DM'd me like a few years ago. He's still around. But we had all these great people who are writing about pens, and actually Ross Stubler is who we should thank for Nakaya being so popular and also doing a lot of poetry. But yeah, he's we have all this information, we have all these goodies, and none of this information gets outside. So Jacob and I, we thought to ourselves, hey, why don't we leverage our position, since we both live in Japan, we speak Japanese, and we like pens. And apparently people like listening to other people talk about stationery. And so we've been talking about it for almost a year. And so this was in 2019, right? So we've been talking about it. We met like March 2019. We're like, hey, let's do a podcast. And Jake's like, yeah. I mean, he's a busy guy too. Like he's an important man in an important company. I'm just hanging around. But then in March, at the end of March, 2020, I was like, you know what? Let's stop dilly-dallying and let's get on. So I called Jacob, or I texted him, I don't remember which one, and said, hey, are you free this weekend? And he said, yes, I'm free. So we recorded a pilot episode. We used Anchor, and we're like, yeah, let's do this thing. Let's make this podcast about the Japanese things. Remember, the first episode was about what the stationery landscape is like in Japan. Stores, retailers, e-tailers, auctions. A lot of people know about eBay, but how many people know about Yahoo Auctions? How many people know about Mercari? And the stuff that gets to eBay is often filtered through those first 5 layers of can we sell it domestically before we send it abroad. So we talked about that, and we had a few themed episodes, and gradually we moved on to becoming more focused on news. We covered a lot of news. Jacob in particular, he's a finance guy, so he understands all these finance things. I don't understand it, but one of the most popular episodes even to date is about Tomoe River and what's going to happen to Tomoe River. He dissected these investor relations reports. I think that's what a lot of people liked about our podcast. That we look deep. And Jacob likes to say we are a niche within a niche within a niche. We're like fountain pens, and then podcasting, and then about Japanese pens. So that's kind of like our place. But yeah, I've been floored by, obviously I don't live here, I live in Japan, but I've been floored by all the people who've come up to me so far this trip and told me, hey, I was on the podcast. It's been a really humbling experience.
So the important part, happy hour, Stationery Cafe. So April and I do a happy hour once a week. We are on a hiatus right now, and when we come back, it might be a little less than once a week because we are busy ladies. But basically, wasn't it in COVID, like 2020? April was like, hey, you want to shut up and I want more content. I'm like, okay, that sounds like fun. And it just kind of became a favorite part of my week from there.
Aww. Yeah, I hope Phyllis doesn't hear this. She's my original Stationery Cafe co-host, but she's a busy doctor during the pandemic.
And she's also a mom.
And she's a mom. She had a baby at that time. So I was like, Bingo! Nice! I need to check. Forgot to eat. Tomoe River Discourse. See a pen as a free spot. Vintage pen table over budget. Okay, fine. It's fine. But yeah, I have a lot of time at that time, and I was like, Kelly also has a lot of time, and we talk about stationery, the cheaper ones compared to fountain pens. And when CY, the Tokyo Inklings, when they start talking about Hobonichi, I got a little nervous, like, oh no. Or actually, that's when I finally could understand your podcast. Because I'm a total fountain pen noob 3 years back, and I had a hard time understanding the grinds and stuff. But it has been super fun. We started a little bit earlier than Tokyo Inklings. I think it was November 2019, and everyone knows when that season is. That's the competitive planner. What are you using next year?
We really don't have anything too particular. I purposely don't get online. We record a live show scheduled 10 a.m. Eastern Wednesdays. And so you can go online, relay.fm.live, and listen to us. So we tend to get online and just start talking banter between ourselves for like 5 or 10 minutes. I try not to overstress. I don't reread all the podcast notes just so we can go in and start having fun. I know Mike definitely has not read the notes. So I feel like I'm prepared. We get in there, we banter for 5 minutes, talk about nothing, really, just nonsense. And then we just go. We just let it go right after that, and we go for about an hour at a time. Sorry, Drew. And
Must be nice.
And then we're out, and we just have too much fun doing it. But there's no real routine other than Mike always counts me in, which he doesn't do for any other podcast. But we started doing that because I'm the oldest podcast on the Relay FM network, and back in the day, we used to have, it was really important for us to count in. So that is one behind the scenes that no one hears. And Mike says it every time, I'm going to stop doing this one day, but he can't make himself do it.
Nice. How about Drew? Because I know he's going to be long-winded.
Oh, you hear that? You hear that?
I should be invited to your podcast more often. Let's make it a 3-hour podcast.
You can stay on brand, yes. Speaking of which, one thing that I always do is wonder whether or not Brian's going to be ready. So that's a ritual, see if he's actually in the meeting or not. And usually, I always get coffee beforehand. And then I like to print out my notes. Brian usually uses the laptop to look at, what little agenda we have. But I like the paper. I don't know, because I take notes, because I have to add in links and anything that gets mentioned that's not already on the agenda. I'm like, oh, he mentioned this thing. Let me write it down so I can add the link in later. But a lot of the time, the ritual is just me checking the virtual agenda that we have in our Google Drive to see what he's added in at the last minute. Because we prep this at the 11th hour, and sometimes even between the time I print out my version and then I look to see what the live Google version is, I'll see that he has gone in and just blitzkrieged a whole symposium of the most nonsensical topics. So I was like, all right, well, I need those glasses that just have the open eyes on them. But,
All right, so
I get out my nib grinder.
So if you've texted me, DM'd me in your time zone, you probably noticed that I sleep pretty late.
You sleep pretty little.
Yeah. So like my time, like 2 a.m. is when about I go to sleep, and so yeah, I don't wake up very early. But Jacob has an offspring. And And Jacob wakes up at 5, like before 5 every morning. So he has to do like offspring stuff during the day. And so we have to record always in the morning before he goes off and does offspring stuff. So it's always like we're recording at like 8 o'clock in the morning. When I'm here, we always record at 6 o'clock my morning time, so he can have at dinner already. And so my ritual is just go to the bathroom. I always pee before I record the podcast. If I don't, it's like an hour. Yeah, sorry, we only do an hour. An hour before I can go. And like when you're speaking to a microphone, you do want to drink something because sometimes you get like a parched throat. So you want to make sure even if you don't drink, you have something there, right? Just drinking, and yeah.
So, a lot of times when we record our happy hour episodes, it's like on a Monday or Tuesday at like 7 p.m. because our retail shop closes at 6, so I'm often like just getting home. So April always, for our happy hour, we like to say, "Oh, what are you drinking today?" Most of the time, it's lemon LaCroix. But sometimes I'm like prepping tea and I'm too late. But most of the time, my pre-show ritual is just like you were saying, like writing notes in there. Like, did I finish all the topics? Most of the time, I just make it up.
Yeah, we use an Excel sheet, like a Google sheet, and like we have one column that's for me and one column that's for her. And when she comes into the Zoom, we use the Zoom to record, and then I'll be like, Kelly, yours is blank. What are you talking about this week from you? And she says I'll wing it, like at the end of the episode. And for me, my ritual is to prepare drinks that will piss Kelly off. Like I like to put ice drinks in mugs. And I also like to drink the coffee from the morning, or the third drink of the day that is still unfinished with the 2 other unfinished drinks. And jelly in the water. But it's rare. Sometimes together we come together with milk tea and we're like, yeah. That was really fun. I want to hear funny stories that happens during recording. Like, has there ever been like fiascos or anything? And I actually want to start because I don't know if any of you guys caught that very traumatizing happy hour where in the middle of the recording, Kelly has a cat that jumped onto her ink shelf and starts walking across the thing, like the shelf with all like 40 bottles, ink samples, and then it started clinking, and I was like, I cannot pause, and I also cannot go on. This is too scary. And I think I screamed 3 times, and we were just watching the horror, like she wasn't even doing anything to stop it. We were just both turning towards Kelly's like bag to see the cat, Maya, see if she would knock anything off, and with the final sprint off the shelf, like the whole thing rattled, and then it was okay. Nothing broke, but that was so scary.
I feel like the thing about it was, it's like, I just thought we were gonna ignore it and keep going, and it was like, Kelly, she's on there. I'm gonna keep this in the episode. And I'm like, she's fine. Like, nothing's gonna. I have rug on the floor. Like, it's okay. And, she just kind of. You know how cats do that thing where they like, she's chaotic. It's just.
Additional, like we edit a lot, and then usually the edit is when Maya jumps onto the windowsill right in front of Kelly, and we do Zoom, so we would both get spooked, stop, and the cat comes in, or the cat goes out, and then she usually swears, and I try to keep it like non-swearing, so that's a lot of editing on my end.
Sorry. I didn't
Not griping or anything. Okay, back.
I'm the swearer on our podcast. We have to keep that clean. explain. We're generally mishap-free. The one I recall that was the most annoying and frustrating was where I record is where I also stream, so I have a desk that have lights attached, and as things happen, those things tend to fall, except while we're recording the podcast, the light boom fell, so my microphone's separate, and the light fell, hit the microphone, hit me in the head, and that's all fine, except for what Mike hears on the other side is this huge crash and bang and me yelping. And he's thinking like, did Brad just get robbed? Is he alive or what happened? So yeah, it was more of a because I didn't see it. It just comes crashing down on me. Like not knowing what he was thinking on the other side was the funniest part of that.
So we're also pretty mishap-free. We get like we get the occasional doorbell ringing, but that's all fine, right? But so in one of the reviews for the podcast, one of the reviewers said, "Thanks so much. This is one of the only podcasts that I can listen with my son, my young son, and we try to keep it very PG." So we try not to curse on our episodes. But I remember one episode I just forgot, and I curse a lot in real life. I totally forgot, and I just casually slipped it in. And afterwards, when I was editing it, I was like, anyway, so when I was editing it, I was like, I said a curse word, and so it was too close to other words, and I'm sure the other editors here will know that if your blue squiggly line is too close to the other squiggly line, you can't actually cut words out. Like sometimes. I actually cut whole sentences and merge them together so that it sounds like one sentence, but I couldn't do it in this case. So I think there's one episode where there's like a huge like censored sound. Yeah, I don't remember exactly the episode.
I remember that one.
Yeah, but there's
It was
one.
jarring.
Yeah. I just talking. That was.
What's editing? Yeah, we've had lots of mishaps. A lot of audio issues, a lot of video issues, ladybugs crawling and infesting Brian's living room, and all sorts of stuff. The thing I like the most is actually language related, so hooray for that. Brian is usually very measured in his restraint and diplomatic approach to questions. Brevity not being one of them, but there was one time where we were discussing underrated pens, and it was I had all my stuff ready to go, and he did his part. And toward the end, it occurred to me like, you know what? And I said, Brian, some people think the Lamy 2000 is underrated, and because we were just like, I don't know, jiving, just rolling. But immediately, as soon as I said it, he said, "Well, those people can go to hell." I was like, "Jeez, Brian!" He immediately, he never does that. So, when Brian and Rachel let one loose, it's just so delightful. It doesn't happen often, but he likes the Lamy 2000 guys. He enjoys the Lamy 2000. But that was probably my favorite funny moment, and a little off brand for him, but delightful nonetheless.
So I have to remember that, and I think he also realized when he said immediately afterwards, he's like, I'm just kidding.
I don't actually have to go there.
I love it. I edit a lot, so there's rarely audio mishaps on the show, but I do have to, I did one time with a guest, like cut an entire chunk, move it to the front, and then took out portion and moved to the back. It was like a surgery on audio. But it turned out great, so no fault there. Oh, okay.
April, have you ever taken audio or video from other episodes and sliced it into the one you're editing?
If it's a happy hour, I would consider doing that. Maybe not with the guests. Okay, so I think we talked a lot about the podcast, running a podcast. I want to talk a little bit about the SF show experience. This is my second SF show, probably Brad's like 10 or something like that. I want everyone to share a fun experience or something that happened so far in the past 2-3 days that is particularly memorable, feel warm and fuzzy, or feel annoyed, or whatever. So,
Hey, oh boy. I was like, there's quite a few things I could say here. Generally, and I feel like people say this a lot. I was telling Brad this earlier. Like, everybody's so nice in the pen community, and like people, like if you have in your mind something that you want and you voice it out loud, someone will be like, well, like you should go to that person over there. They probably have something like that. And I go to that person over there and they have the thing. And I'm like, oh, dope. And just like, it just is a really wonderful community. So you know, give yourself a round of applause because hell yeah. I had a very good experience I want to talk about, and you'll probably hammer this on your podcast later, but like the Yamamoto paper.
Oh, I'm gonna hammer it now.
Oh, okay. I feel like I'm just gonna I mean, so, you know, I came in a little late. Like, I was like CY late, okay? I was like, there was still a couple minutes left.
On time. 2 minutes early.
Yeah, I was still on time. And it was upstairs, you know, so I thought it was in this room actually. So I was like, oh no. I'm like, oh, how do I get upstairs? And talk to Franz, and he's like, oh, you just have to go up the staircase. Oh. So I'm like, you know, kind of elbowing people out of the way, like in a nice way. And so I get in there, and there's an empty spot next to Brad, and I was like, I'm gonna sit next to Brad. And then somewhere, you know, the Bruce, who is a super awesome guy that also speaks Japanese, he was like translating for his Taisho, right? Taisho Yamamoto? Taizo, sorry. That's right. I'm mixing his name with it. So it was just a really cool experience because he was talking about like all of the different properties of the papers and what machines they're made on, like what company does this and that. And
Secrets.
yeah. So, oh yeah, and secrets that we're not allowed to share. So I mean, you can talk to me later if you want to know, but and Toasty too. But it was just really cool to be in a room with a bunch of people that are essentially just me. But people in the room be going like, hey, do you mean this is the old Tomoe River that we're riding on, or the new one? Because I need to know. Like, what machine was this made? Like, it was just really delightful, and I will take that experience with me. It was great.
Yeah, I promise I'm not on Yamamoto's payroll as much as I've yapped about this, but it was a spectacular class. Kelly tried to get both of us kicked out when she came in, but it was really fun, and we almost had to sign NDAs the way the class started. So it was pretty interesting. So I would definitely think about that. The other one of the big things was hanging out with this guy, who I have not got to see in person, and him telling me a week before the show, I have something for you that you need to see, and that was it. And so I now have a new pen from CY, which we can talk about. And the coolest, wildest thing I saw was the Kiwi pen, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
All right, so I did not prepare for April's questions. So I'm gonna just swing it, but I think first of all, if you listen to the podcast, which you should, you already know that pen shows here are not really the same as pen shows in Japan. So I think for me personally, just getting to absorb the experience was pretty cool. Also, I didn't really see the show because I was just on table C6. So I haven't really seen much of the show actually. But yeah, just kind of absorbing the experience. Obviously, a lot of people coming over to say hi. Said really humbling experience. But I think, yeah, when Brad came over, I think working on his pen, that was fantastic. That was brilliant. But there's one guy that I want to shout out, and I've actually known, or I've known of this person for quite a while. So a few years back, I was seeing all these people meaning Clay putting parallel nibs into random different pens. Like, oh, that's pretty cool. The parallel pen is pretty ugly. So I texted a friend, Olivier from Olive Boy Pens, something like that. Yeah, Olive Boy, you guys know it. And I said, hey, you use 3D print. Can you 3D print me a housing that is compatible with the Yogo number 6 and a parallel? And he said, no. He said, yeah, it's too difficult, and I don't want to do it. I don't know if he said I don't want to do it. I think he wanted to do it, but it was just very hard. And I was like, oh, well, that sucks. And a few months later, I saw this guy post on Reddit. He had 3D printed a converter or a feed that would allow him to put a Visconti nib inside a Untitled. And so I texted him, I said, hey, I'm looking for this 3D printed parallel thing. And I finally got to meet him at this show. It was brilliant. He gave me some of the converters, and that actually worked pretty well. We obviously went back and forth a little bit in the show about where we can make some improvements to the design. But I tried it on one of Fountain Pen Day's S-Works, and it works so well. It takes a Sailor converter, so you can either eyedropper or you can use a converter. And I think, yeah, meeting this guy and just seeing these cool things that people are doing, yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
That's cool. Yeah, what are you sorry for? What'd you do? Oh, no, that's not nearly the most awkward thing that's happened to me today. In fact, one thing that I've really enjoyed today is, all the different approaches people will come at you with a greeting, such as the fist bump, the hug, the high five. You never know what you're going to get. I've just accepted that it's going to be weird. I've just taken to shaking fists. It's like, no, bring it in. Like, this guy knows. And also, one thing I've loved even more about meeting people re-meeting people, I guess, because I know so many people through Instagram and YouTube, and finally being able to put faces to names. And one thing I've enjoyed is while I have people come up to me who know who I am, and are like, hey, and then I startle them by knowing who they are, and they're like, oh my God, oh Jesus, so I'm a very excitable person, and I'm pretty, I guess that might be disarming, which is good, because you very quickly realize that no matter what you do, when you meet me, you're not going to be as awkward as I am. So in that way, it's like, you know what? It's one less thing to worry about, because look at this guy. He's just not in control of himself at all. So you're welcome if that is applied to you today.
So one more thing, which Brad Nadati and I shared, which I think is the most awkward thing that happened to us. So there's this guy who came to my table and says, hey, this is going to sound really awkward, but I'm not looking for you. Is Drew Brown at the show?
Later on. Hey, Brad, is Drew Brown at the show. Good to meet you. Do you know where Drew is?
You're so hard to see.
I want to add, like, we have a friend who, like, is from Philippines, and she happens to be in San Francisco. She came up to me, and the first thing she said is, "Oh, I saw Drew up there." Weird. Drew attraction here. My favorite thing is I said I'm not going to buy a pen at the pen show. I broke a pen at the pen show. My own pen, a Uniball Signal.
We're watching Full House over here.
But I was working at the choir booth. Everyone kind of knows where we are, and we were lucky to be right behind Boom Boom Box. Like, I bumped butts with the Boom Boom Box people so many times in the past 2 days. And then I was like concentrating on people checking out choir, helping them out, and I hear last one, like in the side of my ear. I spin around, which one? and we all bought the Morning Glory glass pen, right? Did we?
I got the Cinderella slipper. Or she did. Yeah.
Tomato.
Okay.
Wait, is that how you say it?
Tomato, potato.
I want to make sure we get people to bingo. So,
Oh yeah, am I supposed to be?
do you guys like the fishing vest? What's bingoing? Who bought over 5 eggs? Bingo? Did you bingo? Okay. Yeah, and I realized it's like 6:46, and I don't know if anyone like, do we like keep going? Cause that's too late. Like, but I also like you said we could have like chill journaling time. But I also have a lot of questions. I guess you can.
Oh no.
So I have a confession. I'm not very good at keeping my own time. So I have to, rely on Google Calendars. I've been talking to people, and I totally messed up the time of the show. It's until 8, but I thought it started at 8. I told people.
Oh no! You told me about to come at 8!
Dude.
Yeah, they're probably gonna.
That's on record, right?
Yeah, they're gonna drop trickling.
So what do you guys think? You guys wanna, we can keep going? Or... Okay, favorite thing you bought at the show? Okay, I want to say one thing. I have a favorite thing at the show, but Kelly bought it and did not get one for me too, and I was really mad. It was this Rickshaw Sinclair donut pattern with like really pretty pink koozie interior. And she like rode in after taking bathroom breaks at the booth because she was helping us out. She's like, look what I got. And I'm like, that was the last one. So I just wanted to mention that was my favorite thing at the show.
So I'm pretty sure I literally got the last one because someone right next to me like had one with I think like a blue interior. I was like, ooh, I like the pink better anyway. And I'm like, the lady behind the counter was like, counter booth, whatever. She was like, oh yeah, I think that might be the last one. And then April, like seriously, she gives the most like betrayed look. Like I also got bubble tea last night and she wasn't with me. And in the car I was like, you guys, we should have maybe got one for April. And I show up and she sees me and she's like, you didn't get me bubble tea. Wait, what was it? Oh yeah. So favorite thing you got. Okay. I wanted to talk about this because it's so weird. I keep accosting people. It's this Microsoft branded Kaweco Sport set. Okay? And the best part about it is that this is a fountain pen. It comes with a ballpoint pen too. But it says Microsoft and then it's number 669 out of 1,000. How is this not the best thing?
And then you met the person.
And then I met the dude that was like, oh, I helped design that, or I designed that, like this guy from Germany. And I'm like, What? this was only $50. It was like such a cool experience that I'm really glad I have now.
So I feel guilty sitting next to you telling you how much I enjoy the pen that I bought from CY, but as one of the main enablers to a lot of your addictions right here, I would like to admit that yesterday I too got enabled.
Yeah.
And it's April's fault.
Nice.
So I had my plotter appointment, and I went and built my narrow plotter that I really wanted. I've been planning on getting it. I was deciding to get it, and I was super happy with it. And that's a really cool experience. You know, again, not on the payroll. I feel like there's a lot of disclosure that needs to happen here. So I'm sitting there waiting at Plotter, and as I'm sitting there talking to other people building their plotters and people behind the booth and friends who are hanging out by me, all of these Plotter minis start coming out of pockets, like left and right. Plotter mini, Plotter mini, Plotter mini. And I'm like, I'm not buying the Plotter mini. I now own a Plotter mini.
So I haven't left table C6. So I didn't buy anything yet at the show. But that's not actually true. So I bought from April the stickers that these lucky bingo winners will get. Yeah, that's not my problem. I want to talk about somebody, because I didn't buy anything, so I want to talk about somebody else's acquisitions. And Bradley Dowdy stole the pen. So if y'all don't know, Kelly's a big Halloween fan.
You all don't know. Yeah.
And Kelly's been pining for this pen for a while. And none of us told Kelly that there was this pen. So I happen to also have this pen, and it's with me at the show. So we have to, I'm not going to say what it is, but we have to dance around, we have to wave the pen around, dance around and yell, hocus, pocus, hocus, pocus. So that's, yeah, and then maybe you'll get yours.
It's okay.
That's true.
She hasn't paid for it yet.
We can have a bidding.
Nice.
This is the auction
Or
room.
you can like rob her and pay him.
I have no idea what they're talking about. So I actually was gifted a pretty big deal today. I don't have any vintage pens, like at all. I think the 90s is as old as they get for me. But I had a friend, Craig, who insisted on making sure I had a vintage pen. He gifted me a very, very nice, refurbished 1918 Waterman's 52. And it's amazing and beautiful and wonderful, and I absolutely love it. In addition to that, I was also gifted 2 bags full of Game Boy Advance accessories. So I think I'm making up pretty well. I've got magnifiers, extra grips, batteries, I don't think it's going to get topped at this point, so go home now.
Didn't you get an umbrella?
I did get it. Everyone's been getting pens left and right from CY, and I got an umbrella. Because I live in Seattle. To be fair, it's a melon soda design umbrella. I look really badass and weird in Seattle. Soon. I'll use it a lot. It's super cute. Yeah, CY bought stickers from me because I was with him at DC Pen Show and I took a lot of things from his table and did not pay him. I was like, CY, what can I do for you? So I printed him 400 stickers and I gave him $20. And we're settled. It is? No, I just had to pay him. since we still have time, I was like, let's move into stationery topics. I had some Q&A from friends who were like, what are some like questions you want to know? And this one is like the most popular one. Favorite ink color? Right now, this moment, at this day and year. Favorite ink color? Because we know that changes.
Oh, shit, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you're too slow. So I'm sad that I don't get to use this color more often, but my favorite ink color right now is purple. Actually, I used Mont Blanc's lavender purple for about 7 years, just refilling the same ink. I never finished an ink bottle, but yeah, I have it in one of my emperors right now, and people will come up to me and they're like, "What ink was in that pen?" And so yeah, that's probably my favorite ink color, lavender purple, which is not lavender.
First of all, I just want to say something really quick that I learned about CY when I hung out with him in DC when we were there a couple weeks ago. He was like having me test all these pens at a cafe. It was super fun. And I was asking, wow, this ink is like, it's got this really nice sheen. It was just some blue. And he was like, yeah, so you know what you do is you just keep filling the ink bottle with water. Like, does that make people go, like, what? And he's like, no, it brings out the sheen. And I'm like, what is your ink? I'm so concerned for you. So that was a weird experience. But, you know, I keep gravitating towards teals right now. I don't know, like.
Did you buy the Alice Tears?
I bought the Tears of Alice, finally. Like, yeah. But what was, I think one of my pens has Mirror Mirror of Rain by First World Press in it right now, so that's a current favorite of mine.
I am really into magenta inks right now. That hot pink purple combination, that's what I bought today. I bought some from Sailor today. Buggle Box, I bought the Sailor red purple today. It's in that range. That's every time I go to a pen show or every time I'm shopping for pens, I'm always picking up a new magenta ink to get out of my blue, black, and orange kick. So we go with magenta right now. That's it.
Oh, bingo.
Every day I walk into an office with like 800 different colors, so it's very rare that I use the same color twice. I don't really, but I will say that right now I'm going to do my best to pronounce this properly, CY in Japanese. Sailor Manyo and Momoyoi. Pretty on spot, right? And Momoyoi. No, that's not going to do that. Momoyoi. No. I'm a Momoyoi. What? Anyway, I like it a lot. It's a chroma shading, greenish situation going on, but next week it'll be something different for me. So I just don't have one.
Drew, I didn't see you in my room the other day. You walk into my house. That's my house.
I'm sorry.
Hey!
Keep talking, Carl.
She'll bingo you. My favorite ink right now is
Right there on the
orange. I really like orange ink, and I came to this show with a huge expectation because although Goulet Box on their comment says no, we don't have any more Mikan ink left, I saw like visual receipt of someone's conversation that says no, they will bring it. CY said that to Toasty. So I was like, first thing Friday, someone go get that Mikan ink for me. And they did not bring it.
I did bring a bottle and I gifted it to the amazing Mr. Stacy Hills. If you want to shave her, he's the man. But I only have space for one, so I'm sorry. It is the best orange pink though.
Rub it in. Rub it in.
Be compromising.
inside joke, sorry. Okay, I think maybe just 2 more questions and then we can kind of pretty much wrap it up. I know it's kind of late. Funniest, favorite, worst thing you ever reviewed on the podcast? It could be funny.
You know, whenever you ask about like worst things, nobody wants to start, but like we're like a spicy podcast. So there are a lot of things that we review. So one of the episodes we talked about Narwhal versus Twisby. We actually have Frank from Narwhal coming on to the podcast. But I think the worst thing we talked about on the podcast is probably our Wancher episode. That got pretty spicy, that got pretty heated. People talking over each other. I had like DMs saying, "Hey, people are talking over each other. Can you edit it better?" I'm like, no. Yeah, that was probably the worst thing.
Were you saying that the prison pen is the worst pen ever, or?
There's gonna be follow-up.
Nice. For me, the first 2 pens that come to mind are the.
2000.
Some people say that's overrated. No, the first thing that comes to mind, the first 2 things, the Monteverdi tool pen, which I can only say so much about because it's incredibly popular and has outsold so many other pens that have since been laid to rest since that thing came aboard. So I don't know. That pen befalls me with its success. But then recently we wanted to discuss the Jinhao 999 Dragon pen on the Pencast. We started off just like, why not? Let's talk about the darn thing. It's just. But then by the end of our conversation, we kind of had both decided that it's pretty great. I mean, it's like it knows exactly what it is. It's not trying to be anything more, and you kind of gotta just salute it for it just self-actualizing, I suppose.
We have a long list of pins that we have discussed unfavorably. Many of them appeared on Kickstarter. Many of them did not complete their campaigns on Kickstarter.
Were they the same thing?
Some of them were. In the case of the Scribble, some of them were the same pen. But between the Visionaire and the Scribble, we've done all that. That's not necessarily fun to talk about. It's more like, this is ridiculous. This shouldn't exist. But as far as the fun pens, there's 2 that stand out related to your Dragon talk. The Chaos pen is one of the great pens that I have ever seen. We made fun of that pen for years. Years and years. Sylvester Stallone, the Chaos pen. Until I saw one in person, I did not understand it, and it changed everything. It is unbelievable. Like, it is a legitimately great pen, and it just blew my mind. And it's like, I finally saw it in person, and I got it.
I'm ashamed to say I have just recently actually started signing up for your friend of the show podcast and become a member of the Pen Addict. But your episode with Alan talking about the Chaos pen was the first friend of the show episode I downloaded because I wanted to know. And hearing you come to that realization was just beautiful. It was just like it was an experience that I'm glad that you put out there, and your vulnerability was inspiring. The transparency was there. I just feel like it was an inspiration to me.
And the last one probably the honorable mention is the Visconti Io Penno. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that pen. It's one of the most amazing pens you will ever see. Look that up. You will have nightmares.
I actually went to Visconti's showroom in Florence to see this pen, the Io pen, and it's atrocious. And I had to ask them, why did you make this? It's so ugly. And they told me that it was made talented craftsman, and that it was very inspired. And then they signed it off by saying, "This pen is for
this
new,
thing. Oh yeah.
for students, for younger people to get into fountain pens, whether it's a $300 pen."
Is it floppy?
It's floppy,
Yes.
floppy.
Ugh.
I don't even know what pen that is, but I want to look at it later. It sounds intense.
It's like a tentacle.
I don't really like that.
Who said that?
Oh.
Oh, bingo.
Oh God.
No.
Bingo.
I was like, what's going on?
Tentacle got the bingo.
Have you ever seen the art of the fisherman?
Oh yeah, I know. I studied. I was Japanese studies major. I've seen that painting.
What's that?
So yeah. Okay. And in terms of appropriate topics, so April and I were kind of like talking about these topics last night. And I was like, well, I feel like we kind of make fun of stuff sometimes, but something that's always funny when I'm going to the Google sheet and putting in what I'm going to say, and then I look over to April's columns and I see Uniball say no, or sorry, Uniball 1 again. And like, do you guys know that gel pen? Like, because they keep coming out with colors, and April keeps like talking about them. And I'm like, dude, do you really need these? And she's like, oh, this one's like race car green. I'm like, oh my god. I guess we just spend like 15 more minutes talking about this.
And Kelly talks about Kawakos.
Hey!
Always another Kawako. So what's a little bit different with our podcast is because we're two females, so we look at pens, sometimes they look like other objects. For example, the Caraco pen.
Oh, no.
The Caraco pen, have you guys seen that? I think the Stationery Cafe community dubbed it the tampon pen. It's a cotton center, and you dip it into an ink bottle, and you can use ox blood or writer's blood. That's And then the other pen that I also thought looks a lot like a tampon is the Lilliput, and I remember.
Don't you mean the Supra?
Well, sometimes there's light days, okay? I own the
So when she told me that one time, because I think it was when the green Lilliput came out, and I was like, April, this pen is so cute, and she's like, Kelly, it looks like a tampon. I'm like, I can't unsee that now.
Alright, final question. I know this has been so much fun. And before the final question, I need to tell you guys about Pen Collectors of America. Thanks to France, he's not here already, but I was a week before this, I was like, France, can I have that room, like I said 3 months ago, at 6 o'clock for 50 people? And he's like, what? But he managed to be switch a rickshaw. So thanks to them, and he wants me to talk a little bit about Pen Collectors of America, and I think that was really cool. It's a nonprofit, it supports the hobby that we're all in, and I think you can subscribe to it. They have a cool program for pens for kids where they do kind of treasure hunting thing, and I just thought it was kind of cool. We subscribe to things all the time, and it's cool to have one that's so catered to our hobby. So definitely come check it out if you're interested. And the final question, and we have so many bingo that are not bingo. Okay.
Bingo.
Okay. Yeah, so we just pass it back.
Nice.
Oh, no. And we have, anyone bought a crab at the show? Because I have not bought a crab yet.
Lots of crabs.
Oh, bingo. Bingo. here and told them about like to buy this. Just do it. Well, you can. Everyone should just come up and like. Who bought a plotter? I swear this is not paid. And then there's one thing in there that might be confusing. Saw a brew member, so I just want to shout out. Part of what encouraged me to do this is the amazing Twitch community that Brent was in, Stationery Brew Team, and a lot of us here consistently stream stationery. Like, we're not as eloquent, we can't edit that much, and we talk about stationery like 7 days a week. We have a timetable. Like, if you don't want to work or want to be distracted during work, you tune in starting at like 8 for grabs, and then you can go all the way to 8 p.m. Like just jumping from channel to channel of people either talking about stationery, playing games related to stationery, or playing Pokemon. So it's really fun. And so that's what I meant by brew member. So there's a lot. Can I have you guys stand up so I can like bring you guys up? We got toasty trees behind us, toaster, those words. Look for I can see the right. Hello. We love stationery, and we're like a very like. To be honest, we're like not as knowledgeable about fountain pen. Like a lot of us were like doing streams about what are pencil etiquettes, what should I bring. It's really fun. I would love if everyone could go check them out. We are super fun. We want to learn more about fountain pens. We're kind of in like this Japanese stationery world, trying to get into the fountain pen world. So I just want to thank you guys for supporting us and like supporting this. I was initially expecting just that. Here. And I just wanted something fun for us. So that's what seeing a brew member means. So if you do twitch.tv/brewteam, because we drink anything, beer, coffee, tea, whatever.
Stationery brew.
Oh, stationery brew. Oh yeah, stationery brew is the name. You'll find us. Okay, final question. Yeah. I have it. Final question. What's your favorite season, stationery season, and why?
Planner season, fall, September 1st.
I've fallen into the annual new release calendar right at the end of January, February, when I get yelled at for sharing anything from Sailor, Pilot, or Platinum and ask them to be taken down off the internet.
I'm definitely I have no preference to season. I don't know when something's going to come out that I'll like. I don't plan, so yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well, but then I
It
realized.
sounded really lame.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound like that guy.
March is start Sakura season.
Still my answer.
So there's like Sakura themed stationery everywhere, but March is also the Merzen Pen Show, and there's always something cool there. So yeah, I'm excited about March, and also recently now September too, because we have a fall show now. So when I go back, it's going to be looking for Shishikura pens, 2 of them apparently, a purple one, sparkling, and of course it'll be stupid expensive, but yeah, I'd like to check that out. And then September means that there's 1 month left to the Tokyo Pen Show, so that's really exciting. And yeah.
This year is my favorite stationery season. I swear next year I'll be on a word control no spin. I had to pull up 1 pen per quarter, which Kelly laughed at me about. I broke it in quarter 2 and I proceeded to buy 5 pens in a week. I kind of sad now. Yeah, she was the one that broke it actually. But yeah, I'm really excited about August. This is the entire month of August, because we're Hobonichi nerds. is like the review month for Hobonichi, so it has been like a ritual for us. And then the intense planner season, where my planner count goes from 6 to 21 and then back down to 14 at the end of the year. But next year I'm only gonna use 7, I swear. Well, thank you again everyone for coming, and this is super fun. And thank you Brad, thank you CY, thank you
And I think we all really need to thank April. I don't know if you knew this, but April is a superwoman. No, really. She planned 2 pen shows. She did a seminar. She's basically boss lady of plotter travelers. Yeah, everywhere. She planned for some to come over, and then she planned this, and I really don't know how she managed. I mean, probably with 14 planners, right? 21 planners. Yeah. So really, I think a huge thanks to April for organizing not just this, but everything that you do.
Since this is the end of the thing, I can say something. It's because bitches get shit done.
That's the big cut.
Just put the previous episode.
Alright, so the rest of the time, I think we kept this room till 8, so, feel free to stay, talk to. Huh? If someone doesn't come in at 8 to listen to the podcast. Oh, questions? There you go.
You mentioned you had a ton of planners, and I was curious why.
Oh yes.
I need ideas. Please.
We're the Spencast,
Okay.
and I don't use my planners to plan. They're just fun. So I actually do just use them to play with my stationery, and also gives me an excuse to buy more stationery. That is the honest truth.
Well said.
Any other questions? Anyone?
And also for anyone else.
For the
I got a question from someone on the stream. One chick asked, do we know if Drew is wearing a new shirt for the pen show?
Nope.
Alright, that was the succinct.
It's at least a year old.
At least a year. We're streaming now. That's why the group team is in action. So yeah. So we apparently recorded this. CY recorded this, and hopefully we can share it to all our fans who are not able to be here. And I'm really happy to be able to do this. And we have so many stickers in the front. So even if you did not bingo, you can come and get stickers. And again, like this is the time, I guess, to mingle, travel with them, journal, do whatever, go eat dinner, or go back to bed, Thank you, everyone.